Hello, I am Zach Booth, and my website is dfdmastery.com, and you are listening to eainterviews.com.
EA Interviews, episode 287.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the Imperfect Action Round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
You have probably seen a house before. You've probably been in one, and more than likely you own one. You've seen the agent side, but have you ever thought about the investment side? I have, and I am excited to have none other than Zach Booth on the show today, where he's going to be teaching us how to find massively discounted investment properties right in your neighborhood. I'm going to bring him up right after we thank our sponsor. Every business needs a book, including yours. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Zach Booth. Zach, how are you feeling today?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm excited to learn what you know because clearly you're successful with it, and I don't know too much about it from the investment standpoint. So why don't we start off with why would someone want to do investment properties?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of reasons to get into real estate investing. I don't know what the listener situations are or why you would want to be in real estate investing, but the reason that I got into it, I can tell you that I was a window washer. And it was, I'd started that business when I was 17. I was doing okay. And I had been doing it for about 4 or 5 years, had a couple trucks, a bunch of employees, working really hard from the outside looking in. I was successful. I had my own gig, doing my own thing, and I was able to buy a duplex. And I was living in one half and renting the other half. And the half of the property was paying for all the mortgage and then some. So I was living for free and getting paid to live there, right? And I was like, man, this amount of money is so much easier than washing windows. Like, I way prefer this than what I'm doing. I didn't love what I was doing. I was doing it because I had to feed my family. It was an honorable thing to do. And I think that's what most people do in this country, right? They work to feed their families. It's a very honorable and respectable thing to do, but they absolutely hate what they do. My father, he just turned 60 years old. He's worked at the same job since he was 19 years old. That company has sold 4 times, and he's worked at the same building ever since. And they're talking about transporting a lot of the manufacturing that he does down to Mexico, and he might get laid off, after all those years. And, and I asked him when I was younger, I would say, Dad, how was work? And he's like, son, they don't pay me because I enjoy what I do. If they pay us because we do what other people don't want to do. And so I always thought growing up, you had to hate what you did. But then I got this real estate deal. I was like, man, this is awesome. Maybe I can do more of this. I hate window washing, but this is kind of cool. So I started researching, but I kept hitting all these barriers of becoming successful, getting more. I had to have down payments. I had to have a better debt to income ratio to get loans. So I had all these obstacles to become successful. So I was like, well, how do I do more? And I found out about something called real estate wholesaling. Real estate wholesaling is where you find people that want to sell their house at a discount. They basically want a pawn shop for their house. They don't want to deal with the hassles of the traditional route. They want it done fast, right? Once you find those kinds of people, you can get the properties at a massive discount. You can keep them for yourself as rentals, negotiate seller finance, or you can assign the opportunity to a different investor, risk zero money. You don't have to buy the house. You assign the purchase contract to a different investor and get paid a fee. My fees are as much as $80,000. Right. My biggest deal. My biggest deals that I've ever coached is about $114,500 just assigning a piece of paper, just finding the deal and assigning it. So when I heard about this and learned about this, I was like, okay, this is my way in. This is how this, window washer grew up, very middle class. I didn't have a ton of money. My dad didn't pay for my schooling. I had to do whatever I wanted to accomplish in life. It was up to me. Right. And so when I found out about wholesaling, it was my way to get into real estate investing, to pick up passive income, to pick up investment, an investment portfolio and build my net worth. But it was a way that I could build a business around it. I could source investment opportunities and pick the best ones for myself, but then get paid a lot of money to find those deals for myself as well. Right. So it was why I got into it. But it was a long road to get there. It wasn't definitely not easy. But it's turned out pretty amazing.
So how many showings do you have to do a week with this method?
It works a little different. So
I know. I'm teasing because I know with typical. I grew up and my parents had a lot of friends that did real estate, and it was always like we were gonna go on the boat and they can't go, or we're having dinner and they had to leave. And I know there's a lot of people who are successful with it and they really do enjoy it, and it's a great service. But to your point, you're assigning the paper.
Oh yeah, it's way easier as far as you make way more per deal, and it's way easier than the traditional real estate route. It's easier in the sense that it's a lot less work per deal, but finding the deals, you have to really work hard. And just like finding a listing with real estate in a hot market like now, you have to spend money on marketing. You got to find the sellers, but you got to find the right kind of seller. So I do find a bunch of retail listing opportunities, but that's not a fit for me. I'm trying to find someone that's like, I asked them, it's like, why don't you list it with an agent? You might make more money. And like, I don't want to work with an agent. It's beat up, it's run down. I don't want to deal with it. Right. It's like, okay, well, I can help you. That's what I do, right? You'll probably make a little less money with me, but it'll be convenient and fast. And so, that's the majority of the work. I really believe that real estate investing is marketing and our product is real estate, right? And if you can't get good at finding good opportunities, you can't be successful. I don't care if you want to flip houses, like the HGTV, like fixer upper shows, or buy properties as rentals, or just assign the opportunities and get an assignment fee, which is what I do mostly, right? Because I love that quick cash flow is awesome. It's just an amazing business model. So, once you find those deals, it's pretty easy. You put them under contract, and I have an email list. I have a list of all my investors in my area. I send an email and they all fight over it. In a couple of days, I have a cash offer and I'm done. Right? It's very simple.
How long does it take you to find the listings? So in that scenario of you have all these investors, they're all taking it off your hands, you're done. How much time do you have to prep, and what's that look like?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So that's one of the main things that I do and what I teach. It's what's made me so successful is getting good at finding those discounted properties. So what happened, and I'll kind of talk about like exactly what I do, but like just to kind of give the listeners and yourself a background of how I found out about this strategy and what's made me so successful. So I was washing windows trying to get into this business, and I had hired a couple coaches. Actually, I'd spent $19,000 on coaching to learn how to do this, and totally worth every penny, but it was very expensive, especially in my situation, right? Most of it on credit cards and trying to figure this out. I made big mistakes on marketing and paying people outrageous amounts of money to get me leads with like Facebook ads and pay-per-click and that kind of stuff. And I finally found some success.
Was that on top of the 19 grand?
Yeah. Yeah. I spent a lot of money trying to figure this out. My wife still loves me after failing for years I love her so much. She supported me through all of it. I'm so grateful I can give her a better life now, but
wow,
that's
I'm glad you're on this side of it, but I totally get the first half too.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is I tried to figure out so much of it on my own, and it wasn't until my first coach, nice guy and everything, but it was just like information overload. He bragged about how many hours of video, and I was just overwhelmed. I didn't know what to focus on. My next coach, it was like very instructional, step-by-step, how to do it. Right. And so within a month and a half after that second coach, I did my first assignment, my traditional assignment, where I sold that property for $10,000, or sorry, not the property. I sold the purchase contract. I signed a purchase contract with there was two investors. One of them didn't want to deal with the partnership anymore. They had a bunch of rentals at one time, and the partnership had dissolved, and they only had one property left. So they're like, just take it. We don't want to deal with it. We're giving it a discount. Just take it. So I signed it at $80,000, and I sold that piece of paper to buy the house for $80,000. I sold the piece of paper for 10 grand. So the end investor paid me 10 grand, $80,000 for the house. So his total purchase price was 90, and he got it at a discount. And so selling that piece of paper, like it was like, wow, proof of concept, like this works, it can be done. And by the end of that first year of doing it, I did that first deal in April 2017. By the end of that year, we did about 115,000 in assignments. And by the end of the next year, we did just shy of $500,000. And what made that big jump was learning the marketing system that I have. So basically what I do is I find houses that have physical signs of neglect, because when someone has a property that's a thorn in their side and they're willing to basically take it to a pawn shop, they don't want to mow the lawn, right? Shingles blow off, they put a tarp on the roof, right? They have curtains or they have sheets for curtains, right? Like you can see
they're just done with it.
They're done, right? So tired landlords, inherited properties, divorce situations, like there's a bunch of things that kind of cause those things. but like they need help with those properties.
And this is outside of a short sale also you're talking about.
Yeah, there's people just own the house. They're current on their mortgage. Like they just don't want to, like they want to sell it, but they don't want to go the traditional route. They don't. Right. And so they work directly with us as investors. And, you know, what I realized is when I was getting these deals, I was finding these people by buying lists or getting lists for free from county courthouses. Like every time you file a probate or eviction, that's public records. So I was pulling all these public records and sending postcards and cold calling people, getting yelled at, you know, and doing whatever I had to find someone that wanted to sell their house. And it worked okay, but everyone was doing that. Every investor, that's what they were doing. And so I was like, I got to find something else that I'm like more competitive and more strategic on how I find these sellers, because that's the business, right? And so I was like, well, every house that I've gone into has major physical signs of neglect. He goes like, decent house, decent house, decent house. Like, whoa, what happened here? Right? Like, what happened to this house? And
cinder blocks for a front step.
Yeah, man, like crazy stuff, like straight blue tarps on the roof. You know, there's tall grass, there's
gutters hanging down.
Yeah, just that kind of stuff. Or there's abandoned vehicles, or there's a couch and a mattress on the front lawn, you know, like, and you obviously know that something's going on with the house. And so when I noticed that, I started just driving around and writing down these addresses and looking them up on county records and reaching out to the owners and see if they'd sell. And I started having a lot of success. And then at the end of that year, I did just shy of $500,000. I was like, this is incredible. I'd blown my mind, right? Wrote writing like $50,000, $60,000 checks to myself, writing off my debts, like taking my wife to Hawaii for 2 weeks. We spent a month in Brazil with my wife's family. It was amazing. Amazing. It was so different from anything I'd ever known. I never had that kind of success in my life. And I didn't have really anyone in my family that had that kind of success. And it was a long road coming. It was almost 10 years of being an entrepreneur, struggling to figure things out. Actually longer than that. It was about 13, 14 years of being an entrepreneur. And, mostly with the window cleaning business. And so at the end of that year, I started reflecting on my next year. I was kind of pinching myself that I did the $500,000. I was like, how do I do $1 million? Right. So I was already shooting for like those next goals, just because there's so much fulfillment and challenging yourself and growing, right? It wasn't necessarily the money, but the goal. And I was reading a self-help journal called Living Your Best Year Ever by Darren Hardy. And it talked about the importance of giving away whatever you want to receive. So one of my big goals that I made, I had to make 3 big goals. One of them was to make $1 million next year. I had no idea how. I felt like I had tapped out the potential of what I was doing at the $500,000. And so in the book, according to the book, I had to give away $1 million. And I was like, well, how do I give away $1 million? I'm trying to make $1 million. That's like counterintuitive, right? So I started, but I wanted to take it serious because I respect Darren Hardy. So I'm thinking like, how do I give away $1 million and still make $1 million? I was like, you know what? I know what I'll do. I'm going to take 10 people. I'm going to take them under my wing. I'm going to teach them exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to put money in their businesses by teaching what I've done. And the universe, God, whatever you want to say, will reward me according to what Darren Hardy taught, right?
Because if you could give them $100,000 a piece, there's your $1 million.
Oh, easy. And I knew I could easily do that. And the funny thing is one of my very first students, Scott Dallinger, you'll hear a success story. His first deal was $113,000. It was like my first few months of being a coach. I was like, holy crap, like it was just mind blowing. Another one of my very first students, oh my goodness, of course, Greenville, South Carolina. Oh, Michael McLeish, love him. I don't know why that went blank. In his first 6 months, he made like $300 and something thousand with my system, just his first 6 months. And so like I started having all the success with my students, and I had all this fulfillment. I started getting all this helper's high, and actually like their success meant more to me than my own. By the end of that year, I actually did $1.2 million in my own wholesaling business, my own investment business. And nice. Because I was spending all this time teaching and spending time with them, I had to like replace myself so much and bring on team members and really help me. So then now all of a sudden I have this $1 million business running without me, and I'm spending all my time coaching because I love it. Right. And so like the best thing ever happened is I transitioned into something that I could do the rest of my life and not get paid for. Obviously I do get paid to coach because it's a business, but I love it. Right. I love coaching, and I still have my wholesaling business. Now I'm doing wholesaling here in Utah as well as now in Tampa. So I have basically two parts of my business, doing it in 2 different states. And
And you can do this in any state, right?
we can 100%. And that's what I wanted to show people. I was kind of talking to you off air about this. I wanted to show people this can be done anywhere. If there's people buying and flipping
And what
houses
did you do to show people that it could be done anywhere?
Yeah. So, well, it all kind of started. I remember I was a skeptic when I first heard about this, like buying houses 50 cents on the dollar. I was like, that's not even real. And if it is real, you're taking advantage of people. And it didn't sit right with me. So I was a major skeptic right in the beginning.
But I want to pause you right there for a second, because I can respect and understand that, and that used to be me in the past too. But realistically, if someone's in a situation that they want to get out of it, you're doing them a favor.
And 100%. And I agree with that now, but before I didn't. And one of the big things that changed that perspective is seeing it happen. Because what happened is just before I got that first traditional wholesale deal, one of my window cleaning clients, a very wealthy developer, I got talking to him, and he basically just handed over 2 of his properties to me, seller finance, and I picked up rentals with over $100,000 in equity. I ended up selling them a couple of years later. I made like 130 grand profit off those 2 deals, right? But I had that happen. I realized like even affluent people, very successful people, way more experience than me, would be willing to pass their properties on to someone else. They don't want to deal with them anymore, right? Tired landlords. And so I was like, wow, this works. Right? This exists. Like this is a wholesome business. I'm serving people, I'm helping people and making money. Right. So when that happened, I had this belief because I saw it happen. So when I was up late one night thinking, how do I inspire more people to get into this? How do I take the person that kind of is a skeptic of this and have them see that it's real, have them see that it's a wholesome business, that you can find people and serve people and still make a ton of money. I'm like, well, why don't I just go show them? Why don't I just go do it and show them? So I was like, well, first of all, I can't do it where I currently live because they'll only think it can be done in Utah. I want to show that it can be done anywhere. So I was like, okay, let's go somewhere else. And it was wintertime. I was like, okay, we'll go to Tampa because it's warm, right? So I jumped on a plane. I went to Tampa, and the goal was to take $1,000 and turn it into $40,000 in 40 days and have a film crew follow me and show the whole thing for free on YouTube. And that's what I most recently did. I just got back from that adventure. So,
and how did it go?
I crushed it. I did really, 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 really well. My goal is 40,000. My inner goal, that my own, like, hey, I got to get this number, was $100,000. Just spending $1,000, by the way, and I well exceeded the 100,000. So,
do you want to share by how much?
Yeah. So we don't have finalized numbers because we still have a couple deals closing. Right. But my projected revenues are going to be about 250,000 is what I made, which is just crazy.
In 40 days with only $1,000.
In 40 days. Yeah. And the craziest thing happened is, you'll see in the challenge, if you guys want to watch it, day 27 hit. My wife's supposed to come home from Brazil visiting her family. She got diagnosed with COVID. Her father was hospitalized. So at day 27, I jumped on a plane and went to Brazil. And so I had to finalize the last couple of weeks of my challenge in Brazil, just following up on leads that I had produced while I was there. So in the first 27 days, I got 5 deals. And while I was in Brazil, I got 2 more. So.
Wow. And sorry to hear that, but with all of that, and congrats on still being able to, not only hit your goal, but annihilate it, it sounds like. Yeah. What did you learn from that experience that you didn't know previously?
Some people might find this silly. I truly believe that there's a higher power. I truly believe that there's a bigger purpose to life than just living and dying. I don't know what that is. I have expectations and hopes that there's more to this life than just living and dying. And I have a belief that there's a higher power. And I've found in my life that when I work and have a purpose beyond just making money, but like actually serving other people and helping people and like making an impact in the world, I feel like my results are so much more. I had I had a really neat experience day 4, and I got really emotional about it. If you guys watch it, you can see, but I met a gentleman that was a very wealthy investor, and I spent like 3 hours meeting him and talking to him and his wife. And we signed three contracts. They had a bunch of rentals, but they had 3 that were far away. And I'm going to make like $100,000 on just those deals. And at the end of the conversation, I found out that he was dying of cancer, and that's why they didn't want those 3 anymore. And they shared their beliefs with me, and I called the wrong phone number, and there was the different property I had tagged. Like, it was just like random luck almost.
But you believe it wasn't, it. Let me rephrase that. It wasn't random.
It didn't feel random. No. And so I think that with that experience, I think the biggest takeaway, honestly, like personally for me, was, I was there for other people. I was, Stephen Covey teaches start with the end in mind. And my main goal, my life's mission, I've decided what I would be most proud of is that I help other people find that financial success and that freedom, that time freedom to pursue what they love, so that you don't have to be like my father, that very honorable man I love and respect, and I always will. He taught me work ethic. He gave me everything, right? But he spent his entire life working in a job that he absolutely hates. And yes, he got to feed his family, but how much more could have he done with that same amount of time if he was doing something that would change people's lives and fulfill people, and so my life's goal is to give other people financial freedom and encourage them to go for their goals and their dreams, start their own business if that is their goal, or work in an industry that they're passionate about, and actually make an impact with our work, not just work for money. And so for me, I really feel like, having that mission and that goal and that purpose, I really felt like God really blessed me in that adventure to give me a lot of the experiences that I've seen and experienced over the last 12 to 2 years of running this business, all jam-packed in that short amount of time for people to see and experience as well. So it was a special experience, man. Like it was very special to me. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
God doesn't make any mistakes, and he was just preparing you for this point, and I'm so glad you get to experience it now, and it's accelerating because you definitely put in the work.
Yeah. Well, I worked hard. I mean, you'll see by day 8, look like I've been ran over by a truck, working 14-hour days, because I was still running my coaching business. I was still coaching students. I'm still doing coaching calls. I'm still like helping them, and I'm still, sitting in and helping with my wholesaling business. And I got a couple acquisition managers, and I'm still participating in my 2 businesses that are running. But then I'm also having to basically start up a whole new business, bootstrapping a whole new company, right, at the same time. And so I was working super long hours, 7 days a week, all day long. And I didn't get to see my family for an entire month. I mean, it was a major sacrifice on my part to give this content to people.
What drove you, if you said you felt that way on day 8, what drove you to keep going to week 2, week 3, day 27, then have another roadblock and to finish the whole thing out? I mean, you could have given up at any point. So to be very specific, not only could you have given up at any point and been fine, and I know that's not how your brain works because it's not how mine works either, but at what point did you actually close the 40 and could have said, I did it in 6 days, 8 days, 10 days, 11? How quick did you actually hit? What's that?
Day 4.
Day 4. So day 4, you could have legit said, here's my goal. I already achieved it. We're good. But then you felt like that day 8. What gave you the strength to keep going?
Well, I had told myself, it's like I said before. Actually, let me say it this way. I was listening to, oh man, I'm horrible with names. Tesla, what's his name? The owner of Tesla.
Nikola. Oh, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, thank you. So Elon Musk, someone asked him, I think he was on one of the social media platforms, one of the new ones, but
Clubhouse.
Someone asked him, yeah, they said, hey, do you have any words of encouragement for me? I'm trying to start my new business. And he said, if you need words of encouragement, you shouldn't start your business. And it's, he said that because if your mission behind starting a business is just making money, like just to make money so you can have clout and recognition and feed your ego, you're going to give up because it sucks. It's not easy, right? It's not. But when there's a bigger purpose, right? The first time I started the wholesaling business, it's because I wanted to provide for my family. You know, the day my first boy was born, I couldn't focus on him and how beautiful it was that I was a father and what my wife had just gone through and what I had just witnessed and what I had felt. I was thinking, how am I going to pay these medical bills? So it was really easy to work that hard, right? And to suffer and to push through and start up my business and change my family's life forever and my future generations' lives. It was very easy, right? Because it was more about them than me, and pushing through that pain is easy. The pain of not having success was more painful than doing the work. And when I wanted to have success with this challenge, it wasn't about me. It was very easy, like you said, for me to hang it up and be like, I did it. Here you go, guys. Like, it can be done. Have at it. But it was like, okay, well, I've been given this opportunity. I've put all this in place. I've made all these sacrifices to make an impact in other people's lives. How much of an impact can I really make with this challenge? I'm going to push through and fulfill my commitment to other people. It was for other people, which gave me the power and I feel like the desire to not give up, because it was for a bigger purpose. You know, it was the starting with the end in mind. I felt like it's my legacy. It's what I want to, it's what I live for. You know, I don't care about the 250. I don't like, yeah, I'm going to keep it, you know, yeah, I'm going to grow my net worth. Yeah. I mean, it's great, you know, but dude, I drive a $3,000 car, you know, like I don't care about the money. I really don't. I care about what I can do with that money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I care that I can retire my wife's grandmother. You know, I care that my kids can go to school and educate themselves in whatever they want to educate themselves in. I care that I get to come home from work and turn off work. I care that I can take as much time off as I want. I care that when my family gets sick and my father-in-law's hospitalized, I jump on a plane, stop everything I'm doing, and go to Brazil for 30 days. You know, like, who has those opportunities? You know, and me and my wife were talking about it when I was in Brazil. And it's like, how cool is it, babe, that we've made these sacrifices and worked so hard to now these kinds of situations, we can just focus on being here with our family. You know, and I would spend 2 or 3 hours a day following up and doing my coaching there in Brazil and, you know, go up into the room. But for the most part, I was there with my kids and there with my mother-in-law. She was in just, you know, distressed, because when my father-in-law was in the hospital, they took his cell phone away and we only got one call a day from the doctor. We didn't know he was on a ventilator. We didn't know what was going to happen to him. Right. For almost 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, no communication with him. It was horrible. Right. But how cool is it that I could be there? So, I mean, to me, that means much more than than just the money. That's why I do it. That's why I stayed there, is because I wanted other people to see that that's possible for them. Like, I feel like where much is given, much is required, right? As cliche as that is, like, you really have to give back. And the funny thing is, the more you give, the more you receive, right? It's just like that requirement to give away $1 million on my part, like how it really exploded everything I'm doing. And also
when you get to the top floor, send the elevator back down.
Yeah, 100%. And I encourage my students to do the same. And it's been really cool, the types of students that have come to me for coaching. You know, Natasha Nielsen, she was almost died in Africa on a service mission, came here and had to pay off her medical bills. And so she joined my program, right? And did her first deal, made 30 grand, was able to pay off her debts. And now this is what she does, you know. And Jared Frankham, he served a mission in Brazil, a Christian mission, and he's works as in the ministry for his church down in Lubbock, Texas, right? And has been able to do amazing things. Bought a house across the street from the campus, and been able to do awesome work because of it. You know, Winston's youth pastor, one of my most recent successful students. He's a youth pastor. I don't think he was making more than $20,000 a year. I don't know about you, but that's not very much money, right, to live off of. And he said that after his first couple deals, I think he made like 40 grand on his first few deals, and took him only a couple months of being a part of my program. And he sent me a message. No, we were on a Zoom call, a coaching call, and I congratulated him, talking to him. He's like, yeah, Zach, I got to tell you, my wife and I went to the grocery store, and loaded up our cart. And he said, my wife looked over at me and said, honey, I've never bought so many groceries at one time in my life.
Yeah, it's a fun feeling, and it's even more fun to give it to someone because you work so hard to get to that point, and then when it happens, it seems surreal. And I remember one of the first times I made more in a month than I did in the previous year. It was just like, this is awesome. Is it going to last? What's going on? And it's just like, and it's like, slow down. It's only been a decade. Enjoy it. And I actually did something similar with the groceries and got a new phone and just had fun and did some things to celebrate it. But it's I don't want to say it's so rare because I know so many people do it, but statistically, it's not the norm and not many people talk about it. And I think more people should, because I have no doubt that anyone can do it. It's just they're not taught. I sure as heck wasn't taught that in school. And even if you go down the path, doesn't mean it's going to work out,
Yeah, I think there's a combination of money being a taboo. Kind of like how religion and politics is like, you don't talk about it because it's unpolite, and I think
it's a great litmus test too. It's like, oh, don't bring this up. It's like, actually watch what I do in the first 5 minutes, because you're going to determine if I'm going to stay here for the next 2-3 hours. And right. I say that jokingly, but seriously, it's like, I'm not going to be around someone that's going to be talking about evil and corruption and all kinds of stuff and Satanist and like, oh, you're being polite. No, I'm not going to subject myself to that for 6 hours. No one's tried to get on the show that's talking about that, so thank God. But you know what I mean? It's like you tell your kids the whole time, stay away from Johnny. He's the bad one. Stay away from... It's like they're shielded until, no big deal, do whatever. It doesn't have an effect. BS. It absolutely does, even no matter what age you are.
I think there's a combination of that, like people just being insecure and uncomfortable in discussion with money. We never talked about money growing up. And I think it's also people don't understand that success makes more success, not the other way around, which everyone thinks. Like they feel like if someone else is successful, that means less success for them. If someone finds a real estate deal in their market, that's one less real estate deal for them. Right.
You would have to have one superior business to be able to handle every possible opportunity and fulfill them all at the same level that most people are doing.
Yeah. And well, they talk about like, oh, well, Amazon crushed, like if the competition isn't real, Zach, why did Amazon crush Walmart or crushing Walmart and all these other smaller chains? And it's not that they crushed them or they took the market share. They created a whole new market that was more convenient. They added more value and served more people. So if you want to have success, you don't take away from someone. You add so much value to other people that they want to work with you. They want to give you money, right? People want to work with Amazon because of convenience. They don't want to work with some of these other chains because the price is higher and the convenience is lower. Right. And so it's like they didn't take anything away. They just didn't add the value. They didn't work hard enough to serve people at a higher level. The people that do the best at serving and giving in this world are the ones that receive the most. And so, people need to change their mindset that it's not about, one person having success equals less success for me. It's, hey, that person's having success. I'm going to duplicate their inputs to have the same outputs. Right? I'm going to do what they do to have the same kind of success. And so, if I believe that there was too much competition or it couldn't be done, I wouldn't teach people in Tampa where I do it now, or I wouldn't teach people in Utah, right? But I have successful students in both of those places. What's funny is one of my successful students in Tampa, I'm buying a deal that he found this week, tomorrow. I'm actually buying it tomorrow. I signed the contract to him. He's assigning the contract to me. I'm paying him $9,000 for the contract. The seller's getting $8,000, and I'm taking over the existing mortgage and turning it into a rental. And I'm going to have like $15,000, $20,000 in equity beyond what I put into it. So I'm basically going to double my net worth position, right? And then I'm going to make about $800 a month extra off of the rent income after paying the financing, right? So my student wins, I win, everyone's wins. My coach taught me it's collaboration, not competition.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I definitely think that's
it's the abundance mindset versus scarcity.
Yes.
I want to ask you right now before we thank our sponsor, knowing what you know now, the level of success you have, the assets, resources, and everything, you said Utah and Tampa, you could teach this anywhere. What would it take? Forget the revenue and profit. What would it take from a business standpoint to handle all the other 48 states all through you without sharing it with anyone else?
I can't even imagine. I have no idea. I mean, billions, trillions, probably trillions.
Well, not just but I mean to operate that and have the team in place. You talking 500 people on your team to even, instead of teaching other people to do it, if they were just your staff or team and you trained in-house and kept it all proprietary, to just be going through that level of, I mean, I would think you'd be like an insurance or pharmaceutical company size.
Oh, or bigger. Like let me give you an idea. So I traded investor lists. So remember I said, once you find a deal, you send it out to an email list. So I went to all the different other wholesalers in Tampa and built relationships and traded their cash buyers list. So basically everything from like an hour and a half north of Tampa, hour and a half south, an hour and a half east, right? So basically most of Central Florida, maybe a little bit into Orlando. I traded cash buyers lists, investor friendly, real estate agents and that kind of stuff, 11,000 people that wanted to get an email with opportunities. So in just that little tiny area.
And you're not talking Orlando, Miami, Tallahassee, Pensacola.
So just like Tampa and outskirting areas. So think about that. 11,000 investor friendly people. Some of them might be doctors that buy a rental here once every 5 years. We might be an agent that has cash buyers in their pocket at times. Like there was 11,000 people that wanted to see those deals. So imagine the massive amounts of people in every market across the country that would like to do real estate, that are doing real estate, that are making money. I calculated in just Utah, just like the greater Salt Lake City area, I calculated to do $1 million business, $1 million in wholesaling here in Utah, I only had to have about 0.7% of all of the cash deals in Utah. Not even 1% of the deals to have $1 million company here in Utah. And that's counting all of the cash transactions in 12 months in Utah. So properties that were purchased cash, so most likely were investors, right? Not all of them, of course, not all of them, but there's a lot of investor deals that aren't cash deals, right? They're purchased with financing. So just the cash deals, I only needed 1% of those deals. If I got my average assignment fee, which is about $26,000 in Utah, I needed less than 1% of those deals to do $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So, do the math. And we only have in the Salt Lake City area, it's like 1 million people in population.
Yeah, and it sounds like conservatively, if you were to say even 5 cities per state times the 50 states at 10,000 per, you're talking 50 to 100,000 people per state. It's just a lot.
Oh, there's so much opportunity.
So I'm glad you're teaching other people to do it, because I know people that have the mentality of, well, I'm going to keep it all me and not share anything. And it's like the pie is so freaking big. Why wouldn't you want to share it? Like you're going to, like you said, 0.7% and you're running $1 million a year. There's plenty for everyone, even at the high levels.
Oh, yeah.
So I have one question more for you, and then we're going to thank our sponsor and go to the imperfect action round. And this is the wheel of whatever. Basically, it gives me carte blanche to ask you whatever I want. You want yellow or black?
Let's go yellow.
All right. Landed on right where I needed it to. Fantastic. You see all those questions on there?
I couldn't see them. I couldn't read them now.
There are none. It's a joke.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure if the camera's.
No, I thought about putting some on there, and it was just a matter of designing it. And I go, you know what? It's actually better without them, because now I can literally ask whatever I want without it spinning.
I thought you were like, okay, we'll do this one. I was like, did it land on that one? I was super confused. That makes a lot more sense.
So with your heart and everything, and I'm so glad you're succeeding at the level you are and giving back. I was going to ask you some business-related stuff, but with all the people you've helped, what are you going to do for your dad that he doesn't know about yet?
I don't know. And I've thought about this a lot. And that is a beautiful question. You're trying to get me emotional, aren't you, brother? I thought about paying off my dad's house. I've thought about, giving him some money, but all right. Well, I'll just share. My father was raised in a much, much tougher situation than I did. My father was raised by an alcoholic, and gambler. He had to borrow, he's the oldest sibling. He had to go door to door asking for food to feed his younger siblings. When he was about 12, they got divorced and was raised by his stepfather going forward. He was a Korean War vet. He was very soft and tender and very sweet in his older age. But when he was a young man and raising my father, he was very stern, very hard on my father. He had a rough life, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of what my dad dealt with. He raised me and my 4 siblings, raised us to be respectful of women, raised us to work hard, raised us to be men of faith, to live our lives like there is a bigger purpose, whether you believe it or not. Like there's a lot to be said about someone that lives with a higher purpose than just living and dying. So I love my dad deeply, and he's devoted husband, devoted father. He's come a very long way. He was very stern, very hard to deal with growing up. It was his way or the highway. He was not easy. He's a tough cookie. He still kind of is. But it's a lot of who I am being raised by him. So I've thought about this a lot. Like, how do I show my father how grateful I am, and my mother? And, I think that the best thing that I could do for them is give back to others. When I help people and I help my students and I give back and contribute and give money away and do things like that, I don't ask them to give me anything back, right? You ask them to pay it forward. And so I've thought about it a lot, and my hope and desire is that I can be someone that he could be proud of. And that's the best that I can do, and raise my children to do the same.
Well, I can imagine he already is, and I'm so glad you're doing it. I lost my dad Good Friday, April of 2017, and I would love to be able to do just anything. So you have the opportunity. It doesn't matter what it's going to be. Don't think about it too much, but just have fun doing it.
That it's funny. We do have things planned. We were supposed to go to Lake Powell this weekend. We're major outdoorsmen. So I actually wanted to fly him to Alaska. He's always wanted to do an Alaskan moose hunt, or you fly in on a bush plane and live in the wilderness for 2 weeks, just what you can fly in on a plane, on a small plane. And so we'll probably do that in a year or two. So
it sounds like a great time.
That'll be a good adventure.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being honest. That's all I ever really want. I don't really have an agenda. I just want people to be honest. So thank you for being vulnerable and answering. What am I supposed to do? Something with the sponsor. We're going to queue it up or something, but thanks. You've heard me say every business needs a book, including yours. And it's true. And that's why you should visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Take it from a few of my authors, like Lori.
And I went from having an idea and a possibility to actually getting my book published.
Or Catherine.
Thank you for making my mom #1 best-selling author.
Or Mary Alice.
What he got done for me in 3 days regarding my book launch, unmanageable.
John Cody.
I've worked with Mario over the phone and online, and he's been very helpful in getting me where I needed to go with promoting my books.
Rocio.
There's no way in the world I would have been able to do this with somebody else. Again, I've attempted it in the past. It didn't serve me. As a matter of fact, I ended up more frustrated than anything. So this has been a very seamless process.
Adele.
If you're looking for an amazing business coach, I highly recommend Mario Ficini.
Or Bill Benner.
I can't make a higher recommendation than to work with Mario Ficini. He has been great for me, and right now I won't work with anybody else except for Mario.
Hey, their words, not mine. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com to get started now, and I look forward to hearing your transformation as the next video success story. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. And we are back with the imperfect action round. Zach, are you ready to take imperfect action?
I am ready.
All right, got 3 questions for you, 60-second or less answers. The first one is, what is the fastest path to the profits?
My suggestion is find your ideal client. Don't try and force people into something that doesn't fit their needs. Find the people you can serve first. That's who you focus on.
Excellent. Number 2, what is the biggest problem you see your prospects making and the fastest way for them to fix it?
I think that most people don't realize the power of finding the right person, kind of piggybacking off the first thing. You've got to have a marketing strategy to find that ideal client, right? Most people take a shotgun approach and try a little bit of everything, but find something that works really well and laser focus on that thing to find your ideal clients to grow your business.
Excellent. Number 3, what is the best way to maximize customer lifetime value?
Serve. Be 100% focused on adding as much value as you can possibly afford.
You mentioned one earlier, but if you have any more, what books would you recommend to Expert Authority World?
Oh my goodness. I love to read, guys. Like that was what changed. Like that's really what changed. I was listening to books and audiobooks while I was washing windows, right? Brainless work. I was learning. I've read so many books. I read a couple a month. Probably one of my favorites. I mentioned it, starting with the end in mind, but this one right here, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's a fantastic, fantastic book. So that was probably one of the first ones that I really implemented a lot of the strategies, like how I read books, how I read to teach the book, so I retain more. Starting with the end in mind. I mean, a lot of what I got from that book has really made a massive impact. And I mean, there's a ton of great ones, but that's one of my favorites.
Where would you like people to learn more?
Just go to my website. So go to dfdmastery.com, stands for driving for dollars, dfdmastery.com. And in there's a link to my social medias. So wherever you want to follow me on social media, if you want to watch the YouTube content, the 40-day challenge, please do. That's amazing. That's probably one of my most favorite pieces of content I've ever created. So that's really fun. But I have a podcast, TikTok, and Instagram, and Facebook, and anywhere you want to find me, you can find me. And then if you want to apply for my coaching program, same website, you do have to apply because I only coach a certain amount of people because I do give so much time to my students. So on that same website, you can book a call with either me or my onboarding coach and apply for my coaching program if you want to get into this business. So.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I'm going to highlight your YouTube channel in the top section. Jules, you hear that? Well, let's bump this up on the show notes page. So I can't wait to watch it myself. Thank you for doing it, and thank you for everything you've shared. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, Expert Authority World, we have another great episode here today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, and God bless. You're already the expert, but have you transformed your expertise into a tangible asset that will generate and qualify leads while increasing profit for you 24/7? And if so, how well are you promoting it? With the Expert Authority Effect publishing method, it's easier and faster than ever. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com to get started now. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you got a lot out of it. I know I sure did. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to subscribe to the show. And also be sure to check out eainterviews.com for complete show notes, the full interview video experience, links to the resources we mentioned, and more. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow.